Okay, I'm gonna make the best salsa ever for dipping chips in. I'm pretty sure this is a regional thing. I don't know for sure, but I think that it's just the North Texas, Southern Oklahoma region. There's this type of Mexican restaurant that is kind of like carbon copies of each other, and they all have really similar salsa. I think that I've nailed a copycat for my favorite of those types of restaurants. The best that I've had is a place called El Tapatio. They have a few locations in the North Texas, Southern Oklahoma area. This is basically spot on. If you're not from this region, you're still gonna appreciate this. Give this recipe a try. The first ingredient that I wanna point out is actually tomato juice. I'm gonna show you what to do if you don't have tomato juice on hand. I tend to have something like this on hand instead of having jugs of tomato juice around. This works just fine too, but I really think that the correct base for this is actually tomato juice. So I'm gonna give you measurements on the screen right now for how much total tomato juice you're gonna need. And I'm gonna be making this by basically mixing up some tomato juice out of tomato puree and water. Next, pickled jalapenos. I don't tend to put any fresh jalapenos in it. Sometimes if I have some around, I will roast them and just toss them in for extra flavor, but it's not needed at all. It's delicious with just pickled jalapenos. We're gonna use these a couple of different ways. Basically every other type of canned jalapeno that is, this size can. This is my favorite brand too. And if you can find this exact size can, I actually use this for measuring a couple of other things, but I will also put weights on the screen. Next is fresh cilantro. Those little tubes also work. This does taste slightly better, but the tube gets you 95% of the way there. It's really close. And then a white onion. In my opinion, white onion is very important. Yellow onions in a raw context in something like this are kind of too strong. Red onions could work in a pinch, but the flavor is not exactly the same. Then some good quality whole plum tomatoes. This is my favorite brand. You are gonna end up with better salsa if you use a higher quality brand. Ethan Shablowski has a super good video on different types of plum tomatoes. I will link that in the video description for you to check out. Okay, very first thing that I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna pop the jalapenos open, and I'm gonna cover this bad boy up with my fingers, and I'm gonna drain the juice into my blender. I have also made this recipe just fine with like a stick blender, like this. Any blender will do just fine. Now I'm gonna take roughly, it doesn't need to be measured by weight, half of these jalapenos out and put them in the blender along with the juice. That's about half. I am going to be using this can to measure my water and my tomato puree. Next, we want 1/4 of this onion. Now, this onion is a little big. I'm just gonna go with it. It's gonna be fine. I tend to aim for an onion that's on the small side for this. We're gonna cut it in half and then cut 1/4 of it. Cut it into some chunks. That goes in the blender. Put the rest of the onion aside. We're gonna use that later. Next, we're gonna grab some cilantro. Basically, all these ingredients we're using twice, because some of it's getting super blended and some of it is getting chopped. For this batch, stems are fine. This is getting obliterated in the blender. We want 5 grams of cilantro. Somewhere around 5 grams, just over 5 grams is fine. I'm gonna go ahead and measure some cilantro for later too. This time, I'm gonna be aiming for just leaves. This is gonna get chopped up roughly and tossed in the salsa at the very end, and I don't want big chunks of stems in there. The stems taste fine as long as they're cut up fine enough. These are not gonna get cut up fine enough. Set those aside. Now we're gonna make our tomato juice. You can skip this part if you're starting with tomato juice. I've got a big 28-ounce can of tomato puree. I'm gonna use exactly half this can, which just so happens to be exactly enough to fit in this jalapenos container. So I'm just gonna fill it up. If you didn't have this container, just take that right there, split it in half, and that's how much you're gonna use. This is going in. And then I'm gonna fill this can up with the same amount of water. I'm not gonna put that in quite yet. Oh, I guess I should probably plug in my blender. I need like a tiny little extension cord. You still see that? Yes, you can. Okay. You're just gonna completely obliterate this so that everything turns into sauce. All right, now to finish turning that tomato puree into tomato juice and 4 grams of salt. Now it should be roughly equivalent to if we started with juice instead of that puree. Mix that up. All right, so that is the base of our salsa. And that is real tasty right now if you just wanted to taste it. You could totally stop there and people would be really into that. But we're gonna add some chunks. So I'm gonna take the rest of the onion now. We're gonna finely dice this. Now, it is up to you how finely you like your onions to be diced up in your salsa, of course. I prefer them to be pretty fine. I'm not a big fan of raw onions. I find that they taste really great in a lot of Mexican food, but like I'm not about to bite into a big chunk of onion. So I dice it pretty fine. And I made a huge mistake here and I cut off the back end of my onion. That is a bummer. I was talking to the camera instead of paying attention to what I was doing. Don't do like me. It's a lot easier if you still have that root on the onion. This onion was too big anyway, so I'm just gonna let this last bit just not go in. That'll be a-okay. All right, the rest of the onion goes in. We are gonna do the same thing with the jalapenos. We're just gonna give them a chop and then go back the other way. Give your cilantro a rough chop. And then last, I know we already added some salt, but that was to turn the tomato puree into tomato juice. So even if you're using tomato juice, you're gonna do this one. This is 12 grams of salt. I'm gonna turn the blender on low. Just let it mix up. We're not trying to blend, we're just trying to mix. There we go, that's perfect. Unfortunately, the only container that I have that's big enough to mix this is a jug here. So this kind of permanently smells like onions and I don't use it for tea anymore. I'm gonna dump all that in here. Hopefully you just have a more appropriate container. Hey, Ray Ray. Hey, did you sleep good? What? I'll be right back. Next is our peeled tomatoes. The way that I approach these kind of just depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll just grab them out of there and just smash them on their way in. You kind of want them to be in chunks because what these are bringing to the party is every once in a while, you'll get like a chunk of tomato and it's real nice on your chip. Sometimes I'll just be lazy and just kind of grab them and mash them on the way in. You get more consistently sized chunks of tomatoes though, if you get a little more extra with it. So what I'll do is, these are full of juice. So if you just take them right out of the can and just start chopping them, you'll just flood your countertop. So what I'll do is pull them out, pop the knife through and let it drain. Finish cutting it in half and then just kind of cut it in slivers like that. If I'm taking the salsa over to somebody else's house or something, I'll take the time to do this. If I'm just making it for myself, I'll just smash them with my fingers. And then dump the rest of the contents of the can in the jug too. This whole part is pretty messy, as you can see, but it's all right. We're making food, sometimes it gets messy. And then embrace the mess. Take this messy, sloppy knife and use it to stir your salsa. I'm gonna get rid of this sloppy cutting board. And we're done. We have a half a gallon of the most delicious salsa that you've ever tasted. Dip some chips in it, or accept that chips are horrific for you and put it on your eggs. You're gonna be having a nice time. It's so good. Okay, bye.